Wayward Magic, Chapter 11, Raven's Secret. I spend much of the first day taking in the surroundings. I have never seen anything like it in all my life. And yes, I know, I grew up on a farm. Anything other than the village around my farm was a novelty to me. But I have seen the woods, I have seen forests, and lakes, and streams, and towns. Out here there are things I have no words for. Chartree, apparently, is on the western edge of the region, and now we are headed even further west. We passed the last tiny village hours ago, and we kept riding. Cressa and I share our horse, the one Raven calls Mitzi. It is Cressa's day to ride in front. Raven rides our second horse, Jana. And Sophia and little Dara ride a large horse they call Steep. We ride along as the trees become more sparse and slowly give way to low brush. Then, before long, there are no more trees. Nothing but dirt and rough grass and a type of odd, spiky bush that I have never seen before. And we keep riding. Soon even the low brush and grasses become sparse. By then I see nothing but wide expanses of empty land, large enough to hold multiple copies of our farm. Maybe 100 farms, maybe 1,000. Sophia calls it the grasslands, and there, at the edge of the horizon, are mountains. I knew the word, had heard it used before, had seen sketchings, but I had never actually seen. I had no idea. I could not possibly even begin to visualize what the word really meant. Not simply a larger version of Meek's Hill near Two Forks, an actual mountain. The sight of it stuns me to silence. I am not alone in this feeling as I hear Cressa, riding in front of me, whisper, "Now that is something." The highest peak rises in the distance, surrounded by light clouds, as the sun sets behind it, pitching reds and pinks into the sky. There is a mix of countless other colors that I have no name for. I tilt my head slightly, looking around Cressa's back, and I lift my hand up with the palm out flat. "What are you doing?" Cressa asks. "My hand," I say softly. "The mountain is so large, it blocks the sun, and yet I can cover it all with one hand. So large, and yet so small at the same time." I can feel Cressa's body shake against me as she laughs. "Oh, my sweet innocent child, you have no idea how far away that mountain must be." My face heats and I scowl at her. I am not a child. Cressa's laughter stops abruptly. "I'm sorry, Tam. I didn't mean..." I feel Cressa's body soften as her breathing shifts. "Please, forgive me. You are certainly not a child." "It touches heaven." That thought is pushed out to all of us from Dara, with her broad smile and staring eyes looking into the sky. Another word I do not know. Heaven. Does she mean the sky? But I do not need to know the word to understand Dara's meaning. She pushes a feeling out strong along with the word, a feeling of peace, ease, and infinite joy. If that is what the word heaven means, then yes, it is fitting here. Here, riding close behind Cressa, staring up at a sky so beautiful that I cannot even form words for it, surrounded by people I care for and trust completely. This is heaven. Without thinking, I rest my head against Cressa's back and close my eyes as our mount rocks back and forth beneath us. Heaven. Sometime later, Raven takes a look at the sky and decides we should set up camp for the night, rest the horses, leave in the morning after a light breakfast. We should reach the base of the mountains before next nightfall. "What's at the base of the mountain?" Cressa asks. "At the base of the mountain," Raven replies, "is a cave, and inside the cave is everything you need to see in order to understand." And it is very clear that this is all Raven plans to tell us for now. So, we simply nod and dismount the horses. Cressa and I help Dara brush and feed the animals while Sophia and Raven build a campfire. Raven uses the flint and sparks a flame, and I absently wonder why she did not call Cressa over to start the fire. Perhaps she did not want Cressa to feel like a tool is the word that comes to mind, although I have never thought of a person that way. Perhaps she thought it would make Cressa feel as if her ability to cast fire is the only thing that makes her valuable. There is so much more to her than that. As we settle around the campfire, eating a cold supper of cheese and bread, Dara sends out a thought. "The fire is safe?" Sophia gives her a tiny nod and explains. There were times while traveling that Dara and I could not risk a fire because of the threat of bandits and criminals seeing us. At the mention of bandits and criminals, Raven glances my way for just a moment before saying, "It's safe. We're all alone out here except for a few small wild animals, and the fire will actually help keep them away. Most bandits like to strike where travelers are. Lots of easy targets, you know. And as you can see, there isn't much of a reason for anyone to travel out this far. No travelers means no bandits." Bandits. Criminals. I stare into the fire and my mind goes back to that day not so long ago, the foolish girl that I had been then. I thought simply traveling with Raven would be enough to keep me safe. I thought that leaving my farm behind would bring me nothing but excitement and adventure. And mere days from the farm, I stumble through the woods and get caught up by a man with a knife. A man who called me dark-skin. A man who despised how I looked and yet still would have done unspeakable things to me simply because I was a woman. A man that I killed. I told Raven that night that I did not mourn him, that I did not feel regret in killing him. The first part is true. I saw in my mind the things he had done, unspeakable, vile things to other girls, girls that he had killed without a second thought. In his mind, I saw their naked bodies covered in blood, their lifeless, unseeing eyes. He deserved death 1,000 times over. Or if there's something worse than death, then he deserved that instead. What I regret is that I had to be the one to kill him. I regret the loss of that innocent, naive girl who left her farm and family behind without a second thought. The girl who thought that a boring life was the worst thing the world could possibly give her. Sophia's village was once full of little girls like that. The thought chills me almost as much as the night air. This place is odd, hotter during the day than I expected, yet at night twice as cold. By the light of the fire, I can see that Dara is already sound asleep. Sophia and Raven are a short distance away talking. I lie on the ground and bundle up tighter in my cloak and wrap, and shiver. Cressa leans in closer. "Are you okay, Tam? Cold?" I nod quietly, and Cressa smiles softly. She throws her own wrap over us both, and then huddles in closer, pressing her body against me. "For warmth," she whispers, and she is right. Feeling her curled up against me stops my shivering, and the peace and calm she brings me stills my thoughts as well. I close my eyes and fall asleep, and when I wake in the morning, she is still curled against me, holding me tight. As we begin the ride on the morning of the second day, Cressa allows me to ride in front. We began this habit back when we were traveling from Stokely to Chartree, switching who rode in front from day to day. I would have simply allowed Cressa to ride in front all the time if she had asked, but she insists on switching. This morning, she is hugging tight behind me, her arms around my waist. It makes me feel odd, if I am being honest. It is as if her heat is seeping into me, flooding my insides with warmth. It is pleasant, and yet it leaves me feeling flustered as well. Cressa's voice is soft in my ear. "A question?" I frown. I do not understand. "May I ask a question?" she clarifies. "Of course," I say. "Your riding dress is brown." I shake my head. That is not a question. "Your other dress, what you call your farm dress, is also brown." I pause, frowning. I really do not understand this girl at all. "That is also not a question," I say, although she very obviously should know this. "My question," Cressa continues, "is this. Are all your dresses brown?" I really do not understand this girl. "You have seen all my dresses. You know that all my dresses are brown. Why are you asking me questions that you clearly know the answer to?" "Do you like the color brown?" I am unsure how to answer that question. Whether or not I like the color has nothing to do with it. Brown is a utilitarian color when you work on a farm. I am, after all, getting dirty on a regular basis. I wonder if perhaps Cressa has never actually seen a farm before. And I am about to ask her this very question when she says, "I just mean, there are other colors besides brown." I frown and turn my head slightly. "Are you suggesting that I do not know that there are other colors? Just because I grew up on a farm does not mean that I—" "Relax, Tam. Hells!" Cressa sighs quietly. "I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not." "Then what are you saying?" Cressa suddenly changes topics again. "Can you sew a dress?" Cressa asks. Talking to this girl is exhausting. I mean, she adds, if you had the material. I consider the question. I worked with my mother to make my last dress. Yes, I suppose with what she taught me, I could make a dress, but I do not understand why you are asking me this. Perhaps she wants me to make her a dress, but then why not simply ask me to make her a dress? As I said, she is exhausting. Cressa, of course, does not respond. She simply rides silently behind me. Then, a full minute later, she softly says, "You would look good in a pale pink, a rose, or perhaps a soft green. I would like to see you in green. With your lovely skin tone, it would look quite beautiful on you." And then she falls silent again. Why is she talking about dresses and colors and skin tones? Is she letting me know that I am darker than her? As if I am not already very aware of how I look. First she asked me questions that she already knows the answers to, and now she is telling me things I already know. I truly do not understand this girl at all. The sun is once again touching the ridges of the mountain by the time we get to where Raven is leading us. From a distance, it looks like a small dark spot in the rock. But as we approach, the entrance to the cave that Raven had mentioned grows and grows, until we are standing in front of a hole in the side of the mountain that is the size of a large house. When Raven had said cave, the only cave that I had known before was a small opening in the rocks outside of Two Forks. Even children must duck down to enter that one. This cave is vast, 12 meters high, and twice as wide. It is dark and deep as well. I can see nothing but darkness from the entrance, but it feels as if the cave might go on all the way through the mountain. And the mountain itself is, well, I do not know a word for it. From a distance, it was massive. Standing before it, I see now that it is larger than anything I could possibly describe. We follow Raven into the entrance of the cave, and the world instantly becomes cool and dark. Raven dismounts and lights a torch that she had previously set waiting by the entrance. "You'll want to dismount first and then walk them in," Raven says. "They might get spooked in the dark. Hold the reins tight." We do as she suggests. Cressa gets down first, her hand slipping down my back and my leg as she slides into the dim light. Cressa just stands there offering me a hand to help me down, as if I have suddenly forgotten how to dismount a horse. I bat her hand away, set my foot in the stirrup, and easily slide from the saddle. After a minute or so of walking through the dark, Raven stops and we all slow the horses, holding the bridle and reins tight so the horses do not bolt. All we can see is the light of the torch and a foot or two beyond. "Okay, maybe cover your eyes," Raven says, "and, hold your horses." Literally, I guess. It's about to get bright in here. I barely have time to throw an arm over my eyes when the whole world explodes in light. The horses whinny and jostle, but they do not bolt, and after a moment they calm. When I uncover my eyes, I see, well, once again, I simply do not have words to describe what I am seeing. It is Dara's thought that echoes through all of our heads. It shines. Yes, that much is true. As my eyes adjust, I can see that there are numerous strange orbs of light set along the walls of the cave. And this part of the cave is large, very large, high and wide and open enough to fit the entire farmhouse back where we met Sophia and Dara. The orbs of light shine down upon what looks like a metal house. No, house is not quite the right thing, although it is as big as a house. But it has no windows, for one, and if there is a door, I do not see it. Nor is it the shape of a house exactly. It is longer and wider than a house, and it is lifted off the ground by 4 huge posts that are taller than a person. And as Dara previously expressed, it all shines like metal. But it cannot possibly be metal, because this would be more metal than I have seen in one place in my entire life. Not the low iron of farm tools, dark and heavy. It shines like the steel of a sword. But something this large. I have never seen this much steel in my life, and the cost to make something like that would be more money than my family's farm could ever make in my lifetime. "So, Raven," Sophia asked quietly, "what in the hells are we looking at?" Raven exhales slowly. Okay, so, this is the Lady Hawk. It's my baby. We all stare at her. Her words make no sense. Raven says, it's my... And I pause here, trying to understand, trying to comprehend, because Raven has often used words that I do not understand. Words like binary, theory, protocol, all words that I have never heard before in my life. All words that were completely and utterly beyond my understanding at the time. But what Raven says next are two words that I have heard before, but I have never heard these words used together in this way. And the way she uses them makes absolutely no sense to me, because the words she says next is spaceship.